big. He's a
Mm-hmm. Well, you know.
Nigga, we live.
Oh yeah, we
I'm,
live.
I'm not no more. I was muted. I was muted.
Who did you get an actual haircut? Like, did someone cut the size of your head? Someone shave your head?
Yeah, definitely.
Quarantine's over, sir. I will not be judged. I will not be judged.
I was wondering like how long is acceptable. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here looking like I was rolling with the disciples and
Okay.
that part of the world. I don't know how long. How long can you keep this? Can you keep it all year?
Yeah, you definitely got that Jay Electronica before he got on and was
Call
homeless
me JLF
and was living in every hood in America.
JLF Yamaka.
Oh wait,
Telegraph, Broad Street.
No echoes, no echoes, no echoes.
What happened? You got echo? Who echoing?
They saying somebody echoing. I bet.
Nigga, not me, nigga. My shit pristine. Nigga,
There
I
you
just got
go.
off the phone with
He got the
AT&T
perfect
Fiber.
setup.
I got off the phone with
remote.
AT&T Fiber, nigga.
I'm remote today. I'm remote. Gentlemen, man, welcome back. What's our mathematics today? What's the mathematics?
Nigga, I'm going first, nigga.
Oh, here
wow.
I started my concoction this morning. This is hibiscus, ginger mint, kava cocktail. There's some little blueberries at the bottom. It's quite amazing. And it's spiked too, with a little bit of cognac.
I thought
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say acai, bro.
Nah, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
I'm gonna go simple, I'm next. I got some vuelo, the tequila I had last week. Nice and neat. No ice.
Tequila.
The only thing, I chilled the glass and voila.
Wow.
Now
that's funny. That's funny. That's okay. Trying to make up for all the things that are missing. Just chill the glass a little bit, makes it a little more sophisticated.
Y'all know I like to get fancy with it. I got some I have some red stripe, straight from the Caribbean, and I got some Blue Crystal, 100 milligrams. I wanted to be on the right planet.
Clarify what that is, bro.
That's that shit that Denzel Washington.
Yeah, clarify what that is, bro.
Yeah, Denzel was selling that shit.
You looking like Breaking Bad right now,
you
dog.
Looking like American Gangster right now, nigga. What?
That crystal meth persuasion, bro. What is that, bro?
This is an edible. This is a 100 milligram edible. So hopefully I'm still conscious by the end of this episode.
So basically, it is crack. Got it. All right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. This is our
salute, nigga. What the fuck?
Oh shit. Sorry.
Disrespectful. You that type of nigga that get ready for your drink, you just take a quick sip. Don't even do the contact. Don't even do the look in the eye. Don't even do the look.
I actually hate that. I hate those moments. It really fucks with my spirit.
Really too. Because it's like the one moment for like real humanity and like human contact and connection and intimacy. Yeah. And niggas just skip it.
Yeah, it's like across the street from a spit to me. Like spitting.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Yeah. Well, to that.
Salute.
To
that. Oh, gentlemen.
As I was saying, before I was rudely interrupted.
Politely interrupted.
For a toast. Today we have Essential Episode 2. So this is a moment that we take to speak about the moment in time that we're on. And today our subject matter is: do we reform, defund, dismantle, disband, abolish, fuck the police? What do these terms mean? There's a lot of terms floating around. And I know that many of you are confused. I was confused. I did not know which one to believe in because I didn't know what they meant. And so we're here to clear it up, talk it over, and see if we are more on the reformist side or the abolitionist side. We'll see. But we have some amazing guests that we're gonna bring back.
Yes.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. I know you guys seen that there's there's just a lot of conversation around ways in which to approach it, right? And we knew that coming into this conversation.
Absolutely.
Right? Because we're dealing with issues that are systemic. They've, been around for generations. And they're multi-tiered, right? Like you can't not really have a conversation unless you're talking holistically about how redlining plays a role, how gentrification plays a role, how taxes, towards schooling plays a role. There's a lot of different things. And so because of that, there's a lot of different opinions about how to move forward.
Yeah.
And a lot of the words you're hearing are words that you wouldn't normally hear in everyday conversation. I want to abolish this marriage, disbanding this relationship. I'm going to defund our union.
Yeah.
I need to disband my in-laws. Right?
I am defunding this union.
Definitely.
So yeah, man, let's jump right into it, guys, man. I think the best example we have is something that, an article that you and I have been talking about. You guys, we've been all talking about is what they did in Camden. And this
hold on. Before you go there. I want before we go to because that's a great case study, actually.
Yes.
But let's give people context. Let's talk about Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that conversation. Right. And also, like, it might even be good to talk about, like, actually, let's start with Minneapolis. So Minneapolis, right? I think the city council, like 2 days ago, announced that they intend to disband, I believe was the term, their police force. Yep. I'm not gonna lie, we're in a group chat. I was and someone sent the article. I was having car trouble, right? And I was in an auto zone. This is a long story, but I was in an auto zone for like 6 hours, right? I'm in a store. I know everybody because I've been there for 6 hours and shit. So I see the article and I immediately am like, oh shit. And I announced it to the whole store. The whole store. And it was like a collective what the fuck.
And this is in Atlanta.
Because no one knew what it meant. No one knew what it meant. It almost sounded like spam. It sounded like clickbait.
Yeah. And so in Minneapolis, they have voted. They didn't actually do it yet, but they voted to disband or defund. Because I think that's where people keep getting confused. And are they the same?
Right.
What did your research find? They're disbanding it though, correct?
Their intention was to disband it, right? At least that was my understanding in my reading of it. And let's what might be helpful. One of the great things that I saw this week was 8 Can't Wait, in the sense of there's a lot of criticism around it, there's a lot of controversy around it, but they nailed one thing that I've been telling niggas since day one. Like, y'all got to get this shit together. They got a really good graphic designer.
The designer, it was clean.
Nigga, them graphic designs.
Take away. That production is shitting on the civil rights movement. It's like, it's beyond anything we've ever seen.
The website, bro. That's the thing, dog. Some of these things are like, all we got to do is set aside a budget for fucking graphic design and a good web person. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of it is just design. Like I remember one thing that I always loved about Marcus Garvey is how much of a showman he was.
Definitely.
I mean, this motherfucker. Do you see his outfit?
Definitely. That nigga was
in
stunting.
the 1920s. Dog.
Definitely. Stunting down the street. Stunting.
And everybody had like little uniforms, and so the show of it all actually is what draws people in. So 8 Can't Wait had that for sure. And I think other people had the benefit of great words that are shocking. Like for a lot of us that heard abolish the police, we was like, holy shit.
What does that mean?
What's that? Is that no police?
And let's delve into it. So Brooklyn, can we bring up that 8 Can't Wait, the first iteration, the first iteration of their website and what they were talking about. Okay. So data proves that together these 8 policies can decrease police killings by 72%. You got banning of chokeholds, you got de-escalation, you got required warnings before shooting, you got exhaust all alternatives before shooting, you have a duty to intervene, ban shooting at moving vehicles, which is amazing. Like that's just an interesting conversation.
Niggas shoot at me.
in what world are cops going to shoot at a car and win? Like what kind of Grand Theft Auto shit?
Straight GTA.
What is that? All right, require use of force continuum and require comprehensive reporting. Right, this is the first iteration. Right, and a lot of people thought it was a bit reformist. Right, and then. It was like after the article, I think it was right after the article came out about Minneapolis. There was an update on the website, like a day later.
Yep.
Can we bring up that next version? All
right,
and there it is.
There it is. Look at that word on the right. We're just gonna skip to the right. Abolition.
Yeah.
Niggas moved the goalpost.
Fully defund the police.
Fully defund and abolish these niggas.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into that. Cause then some people looked at that moment and was like, yo, y'all move the goalposts. Y'all are trying to jump you trying to jump to another party. We've been on this abolition shit for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like it really be wars between a lot of these guys. And then another group made their own version of what they wanted to see out of 8 Can't Wait. Brooklyn, can we bring that up? That third graphic.
Damn.
So they remixed it. This is not, just to be clear, this is not from 8 Can't Wait. This is not from 8 Can't Wait. This is another graphic designer in Photoshop.
Abolition. It's an abolition can't wait.
All right. A world without prisons and police where we can all be safe. We believe in a world where there are 0 police murders because there are 0 police. All right. I don't know who made that Photoshop.
Yo, look at the hearts at the invest in care, not cops.
Man, they went in.
Wow.
They went in. And so you start to realize that there's an actual gradient.
Yeah, it is.
There's like a gradient, right? Of like what people think and believe to be the appropriate way to approach some of these things. Now, have y'all niggas heard of the Overton window?
I heard of it, but it put me on.
No,
great. I actually commissioned a white man to put us on. Brooklyn, can you run that clip?
Hilarious.
The Overton window is a model of policy change. And the Overton window describes one big thing. Ideas that are inside the Overton window are ideas that are politically safe. The public is ready to accept them. But ideas that are outside the Overton window are ideas that might be too radical for the public to accept. And any politician who supports ideas that are outside the Overton window today risks finding himself getting defeated in the next election. Anything that changes the public's perception of an idea can shift the Overton window. Things like think tanks, the media, entertainment, a crisis, or historical events. Anything that gets the idea out in the open so that it can be discussed and debated has the potential to shift the window.
How much did you pay him?
Yeah, I was like, thank you for that white man that you commissioned.
I mean, the times are crazy, bro. You can get a lot of pro bono shit right now, dog.
The Overton window.
So
the point is that the it's always moving, bro. The window is always moving. What's considered radical can move. I mean, to be honest, look at Trump. Trump actually is probably the greatest example of the Overton window. He's actually normalized what a lot of people would have been like, that's outside of like presidential behavior. You see what I'm saying? But now we're actually accustomed to it. And so it actually shifted the entire public in terms of what can be allowed.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
And every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Exactly.
Well,
No,
I'm saying, and that goes right into, it would have, I grew up in Philadelphia. Philly. I never in my life would have imagined them dissolving or disbanding Camden police.
Yo, the only saving, just so y'all know about Camden, dog.
Let's talk about Camden, dog. The craziest.
Yo, niggas from Philly. Even from Philly was looking at Camden like, we don't really.
Y'all doing a lot.
We don't really. There's no need. But the crazy thing about Camden that was so wild is like you know how like certain hoods, like especially East Coast hoods, you can tell like when you're in the hood.
Yeah.
Camden looked like a hyperbole or hyperbolic version where it was like exaggerated hood. Like it looked like death, pestilence, and despair. But the weird thing about it was they had a really nice aquarium.
Very nice.
It was amazing.
Very nice. Very
you know
nice.
How many times I DJ there? I DJ there like every year for like 7 years. It was incredible.
If you go 2 blocks past the waterfront,
yeah,
you are in an area that you are not going to feel safe at. No matter where, no matter who you with, you still just being outside. You're gonna be like, nah, I don't trust this at all.
The fish got it better than the people, basically.
The fish are living amazing
in Camden.
1000%. They were.
Okay.
They were. So 2014, they were actually considered the most dangerous city in the entire country.
Yeah.
And I know like niggas say that, like, yeah, we get murder capital.
No.
That year, they won.
Hands down. Hands down.
Yeah. And their murder rate, in fact, was 18 times.
Somebody said it made Newark look like Malibu.
Definitely. Like, can you imagine taking the murder rate and being like, okay, I'm gonna see your murder rate by 18 times? 18 times. Not 10 times. 18.
And so the great thing is, you know, the crux, and I think that this is where a lot of people are talking about disbanding police. They didn't get disbanded for the reason that most police get disbanded because of money, because of lack of money. They can't afford it, and it's usually in smaller cities. Camden was because of corruption. The corruption had gotten so out of control with the police there that they had to disband it. And what they basically found out was that it was fear. That, you know, they said that, I think they did a poll, and it was like 79% of the residents literally feared the police. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what race you was, it was like, they are a gang. They are probably the most violent gang on our streets. They disband them and the crime drops 50%.
So
yeah, let's talk about specifically what they did too, because I think it's important to get into the details, especially when there's confusion around like semantics and wording, right?
They had to overturn convictions after they disbanded them, because that's how much the corruption ran. It ran that deep.
Yeah, just so you're clear, like Camden was like, I can't remember the exact number, but it was ridiculous, where they had like hundreds of open air drug markets. That's what they were known for.
170.
So like, 107, that's what it was. And like, so literally the Wire.
Explain what open air means.
So y'all know the Wire, dog. Y'all know that open area where literally is like the fiends is there, the dealers is there, people are buying that in the open.
There like that.
Like Philly, we had Badlands. Like they used to talk about Badlands like in the 90s. It was like unregulated territory where it's like whatever you want, like the Bluff. It's like whatever you want to get into. The cops not gonna interrupt. Like y'all got that. They had 170 open air drug markets.
That's
right?
Insane.
So let's talk about what they did, because everyone talks about the semantics. So what they did is they eliminated the actual city police, right? And they replaced it. It wasn't that they just got rid of it. They replaced it with the county police, right? Yeah. And so then they had a whole they had a whole regiment of how you could get on the police force, right? So you weren't guaranteed. If you worked for the city police, you weren't guaranteed to now be a part of this new program. You had to start from scratch and reapply, right? And because the police chief, who was kind of super ill, I started reading on him. He basically said like there was no way to change the culture of the police department. He's like, the only way is if I basically control alt delete delete the whole shit and literally start from scratch. And so what he did is like he hired new people, but he put them through this process where they had to go through a 50-page application. They had to go through a tedious interview process. He changed, actually, this is what was brilliant to me, is he changed the rewarding system, right? And the incentive system. And so instead of cops like being promoted or getting advancements or bonuses based on the number of people they arrest, it was actually based on the outcome of any conflict that they had. Right. And so it removed it from just being simply a quantitative. You arrest this many people at the end of the month. This is your quota. He got rid of all that. He got rid of that and was like, actually, it's about the outcome.
He went straight community. He literally was like, yo, Camden, it's not a lot of white people. So he purposely got black and brown officers on purpose. He purposely lowered the amount of white officers and increase the amount of black and brown officers that were on the force. And then they did certain things where they host fucking movie nights. They do drive-in movie nights for the residents, and they do barbecues, community barbecues that are led by the police. So just imagine that. Imagining your poor, or I hate to use the word poor, but your disenfranchised areas where the police are literally a part of the community. So they take their own money or money from in the force and feed the community, literally. And I mean, this is like futuristic policing. It just shows you.
Let's be clear though that what's happening in Camden is not necessarily what's going to happen in Minneapolis.
Sure, exactly.
So disband and dismantle are the same word. It means you get rid of the force. You have a new application process, as none is telling us, and you may not be rehired for this new paradigm. But in Camden, they still do have a police force. In Minneapolis, there's room. It's open to debate of whether or not they're actually going to bring back this another police department, which then brings us to the other end of the spectrum, which is the word abolish.
8 days, can't wait. We can't.
So
wait.
one of the first things that like people hear when they hear or abolitionists talk about is defunding the police. So some people believe that, and these are just defunders. They may not be abolitionists. Defunders mean they want to reallocate the budget. They want to take all the money that was going to the police force and put it into programs that are more holistic around the community: education, healthcare, mental health, and that's what defunding means. Yeah. But abolitionists imagine that's the first step. From what I've read, and the people that I know who claim to be abolitionists and they identify with that word, they also are seeing a whole new perspective as to how to police the community, and they don't want to actually police. They think that public safety is framed in like a healthcare context. Now, I think one thing that I'm not seeing as much is when people are asking, like, when police are gone, who's in the community? Like, how do you?
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Before we do, can we bring in?
This is a perfect point to bring in our
in
esteemed guests.
Yeah,
ladies.
Yes.
You may remember him. We're talking about sex and all that gushy stuff.
For all
ladies and gentlemen,
Nana Part 2.
the tour manager, your favorite artist, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Patterson.
Wow.
AKA Nana Kwebena.
What's up, guys?
Nana Kwebena.
We got the same colors on, bro. I didn't know you was a Naranja nigga.
Now y'all see why we was calling one Chris and one Nana the last time.
I didn't have a glass in my office, so I just went for the whole bottle.
Oh man, the chat.
I mean, you know how many times I've seen you post a show that was your default. That was your default anyway. No glass, no red cup.
I don't need one.
There you
chat
go.
Going crazy right now, guys.
So the chat blowing up.
Yeah, we gotta say salute to the chat too. Salute y'all. Salute to the chat. As we're switching over, as you kind of corrected, Chief, and you were talking about, we have to be very clear about what's happening in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
People are saying that, they want to move towards more community-led public safety in Minneapolis. Jacob Frey, who's the mayor, already stated that he's not going to, and had to take that long.
Yo, he got flamed, bro. He got flamed, bro.
That was not the 1800s.
Why would you put yourself in that situation, bro?
2020. Hey, that's shame culture, and shame culture works. Different than guilt culture.
I would have rather he should have just freestyle, because the way they made that man walk through the crowd. Excuse me.
Guilt culture is private. Guilt culture is what you're seeing when some European Americans, as I call white people, are driving by and they just honk the horn at me to say hi.
Yeah.
That's part of guilt culture. Shame culture is public. It's not private.
Yeah, man.
It's not personal. It's a whole bunch of people. And I just kept looking at his right hand. If you watch his right hand in the video.
That was his telltale.
It was so uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it just kept moving. He was trying to stand firm. But I loved it. That was one of the most beautiful moments I've ever seen.
That was incredible. Incredible.
And I just love that. I think we're at a point where community, they're holding people accountable, man. And they are, and I mean, I don't know if you guys heard the LAPD YouTube commission, the commission that they did, where they had them basically call up there and tell them, you know, how they felt about the police. And people were literally calling up and going in on them. I wish we had that in every city.
I missed that. I just know that their budget was crazy. Matter of fact,
that was the one where the guy was like, eat it. He was like, suck my dick and choke on it.
Oh, that.
I yield my time.
And she said, you have the most racist eyebrows. She said, hey, I just want to let you know, you have the most racist eyebrows I've ever seen. And he was like, his eyebrows like went down.
Bro, there's a 16-year-old that hopped on that, and she's like, I'm only 16 years old, and I know more than all of you. Yo, I was like, yo,
it's great, man. It's great. I love where we're at right now, where it's so easy to literally, there's no buffer between the two.
The power.
There's no buffer. Before there used to be bureaucracy. You got to fill out a complaint report, a complaint box suggestion. Yeah. Now they on YouTube, and we can just go in. They actually at the march, and they just got finished the Cupid shuffle, and we can go run up on Mayor Gray and be like, "Hey, yo, bro, that shit you talking about, all that shit you was popping last week, what's up?"
Fuck out our neighborhood.
This shit is wild, bro.
Rightfully so, bro. Because it was wild that I remember it was like even the day where they realized, where people started having this conversation, they realized that same day LA was actually working on their budget.
And that budget was crazy.
Brooklyn, can we bring up that budget? Can we bring that photo of that budget up? The LA.
Oh my God, bro.
Okay, I want to let's just look at this. Let's just don't even worry about the numbers. Just look at the scale.
Let's look at this. Yeah.
Right? Just look at the scale. Now, imagine if if someone ran their household off of a budget like this. Right? And so just imagine a scene where imagine a scene where the father of the family is like, yeah, we need more guns. You know, Uncle Jimmy, served in Iraq. He sent me a brochure, a catalog. We're gonna get highly militarized equipment. He's going in, right? And the wife is kind of like, okay, maybe we should set aside some money for Uber. The kids want to go to the park. You know what I'm saying? The groceries. We don't even have a first aid kit in the house. There's no emergency services, right? And then the camera pans to this little 8-year-old, right? And the 8-year-old's like, Daddy, what about school? And then the camera pans back to the dad, and it's like a freeze frame. Yeah. And the dad looks in the camera, and then the subtitle just comes up, "Fuck them kids."
The kids at the top. It is so. It's almost as if you literally are lessening the budget for everything that would pretty much create community and stop crime, to justify a huge budget for the gang. They're a state-sanctioned gang, man. That's how I feel about it. That's what they are, bro. That graph is fucking. How is that shit that far? Did you see how far? Right?
It's ridiculous. It's the craziest thing ever.
They didn't even try to hide it. It was like, imagine going to everybody comes to the city. They had a city town hall, and they were like, "Well, what's your budget?" You said your budget, and what's your budget? What's your budget? And then the LAPD, that shit just keep going.
How many zeros were up there? Was that 3 billion? No, can we see it again? I just want to see. I want to make sure.
Right.
Yeah. They were like, "Yo, we need $3.2 billion."
Yo, manage the emergency.
Emergency management might be negative. It might be negative.
I will say, man, people don't. You know what it is? People don't know what to do with money, dog. I
billion with a B.
Goodness gracious!
There's so many zeros.
Yo. So abolish the police, right? They said, why should we abolish police? You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are dating back to where it originated. People are saying that they actually don't believe that you can reform a system that is built on what it's been built on. And how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah.
That there is no reform
until you
reform the system.
I mean, I think until you deal with the roots of what make a country, until you dig deep in the ground of it, you won't be able to really change the garden that you've made as a nation, that a garden that can produce and blossom. Because right now, the roots of this country are something that we haven't reckoned with, and so right now you're seeing a reckoning.
100%.
This is the reckoning. I don't know what history is going to call it, but it definitely is. As far as abolishing, I thought of this because I was like, man, it was troubling me to think like, if there's no, let's not call them police, let's call them like warriors and the community warriors or whatever. if the community, no, not police, like imagine if they were just like guards outside.
Okay, yeah.
I was like, abolitionists are not speaking, they're speaking to a world that really limits that idea in of itself. And I don't know how it's replaced, but I do know that there's units already where like you have a sex crimes unit and you have different units that investigate specific and there's task force. We hated the war on drugs and we hated that it's still continuing, but there are units that specifically deal with that as opposed to
remember the hip hop police?
Yeah. The hip hop police are specifically tasked with that.
We had the truancy cops.
Yeah. And none of these are all different units that are not necessarily directly in the police department in a city. And so abolitionists are saying that we can actually transform how we even view everything. So I was thinking about an idea, right? So when you get a flat tire in a car, who do you call? What agency? AAA. When you're in a house and like unfortunately your house is on fire, you see a building on fire, who do you call?
Fire department.
Right.
Yeah.
When you when there's a burglary outside in your neighborhood and you see somebody running in to burglarize the house, who do you call currently?
911.
Police.
Yeah. But you see, the other issues, the car, the issue is the tire. So you call somebody that deals with the core issue, which is fixing cars.
Right.
For the fire department, you deal with somebody that deals with fire directly. In the case of a burglary, the issue is the person doesn't have resources.
That's why they're taken.
Did we lose him? He got that weak Wi-Fi. I knew it when he came on, and it was looking like 16-bit Windows 98 professional Wi-Fi.
Oh, did it go back?
It went back, bro.
You're back now.
You're here though. You made it. I'm glad.
You're back.
So where I left off is when somebody's committing a crime of burglary or robbery, they don't have resources. They don't have something. They're trying to either buy something or steal to sell or steal because they want it.
To survive.
The issue is an economic issue.
Absolutely.
And so what if you had a special team? So you had a de-escalation force that went in, right, to deal with the potential of violence and whatnot. But then you sent that person not to a jail, but to a financial department that literally examined their credit score, how they can get back on credit, get their credit back up, how they can form a business idea that they had or whatever the case may be. So, and that's just one person. Then on the street, you witness like a domestic violence case on the street or somebody trying to harass a woman. Right now, we call the police. The issue may be a bunch of things. You have to examine the person, but it could be that one, they were abused as a child. And so you send them to some sort of mental health clinic or therapy. You send them to the departments that act.
Oh man, them feds. Someone sent them feds. The feds got involved. They pulled his Wi-Fi cable.
I think I know what it is.
The feds.
So my question is, with those things, isn't that almost as reformist? Isn't that a reformist approach to it?
I don't know, and that's the thing. This is me thinking of how would you deal with these, like how would you look at this framework different, right? When you see an issue, that's potentially a crime to a crime committed towards themselves as a person, or a crime committed to somebody else, where do you send the people if it's not to prison? So I was literally just dreaming.
Yeah.
But Chris, you're saying like, is that still within a reformist system?
One, I'm saying that, and two is like, my thing is I don't see how in this world abolishing police works without segregation. And that's a wild idea. I know that sounds like a crazy concept, but like, I don't trust at this very moment someone who doesn't look like me to help reel in my community, if that makes sense. Like, I don't trust someone like whoever my burglary task force person is in my community. If they don't look like me, I'm not going to trust them as they stand. I'm going to look at them like police. So does abolishing police work without segregation?
It's interesting that we call that.
Well, I don't even know that. Yeah, even the word segregation is interesting when you say that.
That's the thing, though.
Yeah,
that happens because if you look in white neighborhoods, it's not an all black police force in those neighborhoods.
But that's what I'm saying, and we don't trust them.
Exactly.
So if we took away the police, like, and you still keep, I guess, people of a task force that are white, like the issue is like we had reform. Or reform is like, okay, well, we'll let black people buy houses, but the bankers were white, right? Or we'll let black people have guns, but the police have the bigger guns, and they're white. So it's like every step of trying to abolish something just comes with almost like, like you get to the end of a video game and your boss is there. It's like the boss, but he's still white. It's like, damn, it's like I was almost there. So
that's my good homie. One of actually the brothers, Jamel, that helped organize the EFIS march that a few of us went on in 2015 in honor of Black Lives Matter. He was telling me, he believes that you have to abolish the whole system. That's what when he hears the word abolish, he actually hears what I heard when I first heard that phrase, which is a complete overhaul of everything.
No. Let's talk about it.
I'm just saying that's what I. Yeah.
It's not an old idea. This is something that black activists, they brought this up during the civil rights movement. They actually, this was something that was actually introduced even back then.
It's been working, and black women have been working tirelessly on this idea from years.
Yeah, I got a question for you guys though. Like, and I was thinking of this, and I thought about it myself. Growing up in Philadelphia, I don't remember a week that went by that I didn't see clear over policing of the neighborhoods. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a presence. Like there was a police presence. Talk about the experience of when we left America, because I've been to other places. You go to London, you damn near have to find the fucking place. Like I went to Istanbul, I had to find I remember going the whole week. I saw 2 cops the entire week. Speak about that where you go to other places, because clearly this is something that there are countries where the cops don't even carry guns, man.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah, and y'all all seen 13th.
Come on.
Netflix,
yeah, of course.
Ava DuVernay. We are definitely the most policed and incarcerated country by a landslide. You know how like Harvard's endowment is like 2 to 3 times the size of the second university is? It's like we're like leaps and bounds ahead of any single nation on earth.
On any continent.
When it comes to imprisoned population. Absolutely.
Most people in jail.
Ever. Actually, not just now, but ever.
Of all time.
Absolutely. Of all time. All-star. That was the all-star list of American.
I have a question. I have a real random question. Are we the most integrated country on that list?
When you say integration, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
Is America the biggest melting pot?
How do you measure that?
Yeah.
Just the breakdown of ethnicities. Like does
Africa is the most diverse continent based on ethnicity.
I'm talking about individual countries though.
Yeah, I don't think it's the most.
I mean, shit.
I don't know.
Let's wait. Keep going. Where's your point?
The reason I asked that is like, if there's we have a Eurocentric caste system that's almost, it's not invisible. It's very visible, but it's almost an unspoken caste system. And it's like our imprisonment is so high of minorities, but we're also the biggest melting pot. So all these other countries, you're seeing a lot more people that look like whoever the I guess the leading ethnicity is in that country, right? So it's like you don't want to do certain things to your own people, if that makes sense. But here it's like I'll do whatever. The classism and that's why I think it's a melting pot thing. I think because there's so many different I think it's just a white kind of down kind of country. Like
I'll say this. I just looked it up. African countries are the most diverse. Uganda has by far the highest ethnic diversity rating.
There you go.
According to data. In fact, the world's 20 most diverse countries are all African.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to Africa, man.
Got it.
I'm going to Africa.
That's as far as ethnicity.
I'm more so asking a race question.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah, because I know what you're asking.
Like that imprisonment is working hand in hand with racial oppression. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a deep system. I mean, again, that's why we talk about what they did in Camden, where it wasn't necessarily to stop criminals. It was legitimately the corruption was so embedded into the system that they said, "Yo, we have to disband the police." And so I don't know if I'm all the way with abolishing. I can understand. I saw people in the chat room talking about, we got serial killers, we got, there are some.
No, but let's be specific because that's important, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, I jumped on a podcast today, listening to them talk about this because I wanted to hear what. To be honest, I really want to see how they were gonna try to understand it. Because to be honest, here's what happens, right? Is that when you play with the semantics and you play and you start people against each other, right? It becomes really easy to dismantle a movement, right? And so I'm listening to these guys talk, and it's two guys. One I can tell is liberal leaning, and one is like pretty conservative, very conservative, right? The conservative one, even though the liberal one keeps trying to explain to him, no one's saying that there's no police. Like, and that's the confusion around the word abolition. Like when we talk about abolishing slavery, they were talking about there is no slavery after this moment. That's the framework. That's the line of thinking, right? And so when people see abolish the police, they're like, oh, y'all just want to have like people just running around like crazy, and you have no defense. You just everything's all rainbows and candy and shit like that. Like who's gonna deal with that? And so it's very, very important to make sure as people are trying to delegitimize these movements that we're clear about what it means. I have yet to see any person say specifically, we do not believe in there being any role for people to actually hold people accountable for their actions in a community. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why I was just tossing out ideas because there's different ways to think about how you hold people accountable. It just doesn't mean that you have to throw them in a box. That's mainly what abolitionists do. The automatic reaction of the society is to throw the person in a box.
Exactly.
That shit is so fucking caveman. And abolitionists are pushing for a world, and it's not working. It's expensive, and it's not the best use of human potential. Those people as productive citizens, actually, even for people who are interested in capitalism, that will boost the GDP because they're more productive and the economy's thriving more. On all levels, it's just a stupid way of going about it. So that's why with abolitionists, I think that the wording, and maybe this is a branding thing, and if this was the choice, it was clever as fuck, and I love it. But that gets us to talk about it. It gets us to click on it.
Exactly.
And I had to really research it because at first I'm rejecting this word that I actually realized I might be an abolitionist. Come on, I didn't want to share this with you guys today.
I might be an abolitionist.
All the years I've been walking to Nana's crib in Harlem on 116th Street, and I go on 110th, and this is Frederick Douglass statue right there on the corner of Frederick Douglass and 110th. And I always loved it, and I always loved them. And I realized years later I might be just like Fred. I might be an abolitionist, and that's because I had to research and I had to click on it, and that
wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that word.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, but Chris brings up a larger point. I think you're talking about black nationalism.
Is there a theme? Am I a black segregationist? Like,
no, Chris is great.
No, I'm saying the theme, the topic. I didn't say you are, but you're speaking about when you talk about segregation. You're really talking about
homogenous communities. That's what you're really talking about,
and people that see themselves in
and that's what they did in Canada.
Yeah,
because here's the thing. Like,
Camden's still not there yet. By the way, they still got like.
Black people as a collective have been seeking white validation a lot in this country instead of just having their own community.
Yeah,
like Asian Americans came here, the Jews, everybody has their own community except for us.
Yeah,
like it's like we'll sell the community. Like I was talking to somebody on Twitter about it. It's like, yeah, like, you know, I mean, the thing is, like, when grandma's house becomes grandma's house, you want to move out to the city and buy something different, and then you get upset when some white person comes in and buys grandma for $75K, and then you call it gentrification.
Right.
So it's like, if we just kept our own shit, our police officers would look like us, our judges would look like us.
Absolutely.
We can have our own, and I think we would run into less of these issues. I know we will run into less of these.
We'd have other issues to do.
We'd have other, and that's
issues
exactly
that are more productive for us.
Like, issues that disappear.
And Chris, it's good that you brought this up, because let's talk about Africa right now and the connection to this, right? And I'm realizing there is a global conversation to be had about these times, specifically as it relates to Black people, right? And because right now, as these movements are happening in the States, not only are we seeing people support these specific movements in the States globally, but also there are movements right now in the continent, justice for Tina, justice for Uwa, right? And these are cases of young women that were murdered and killed, and some raped, right? And some of them by police. Right. And so when you're talking about countries that are more homogenous, right? Well, I'm sorry, even from a race standpoint, right? Ethnically diverse, but maybe racially they're all Black. It is a different set of issues. It is definitely a different set of issues. And so, but again, I do think that in the approach of those issues, here's something fundamentally that I think is different in those cases too, or at least we need to decide on, is what are our values going to be when we discuss how to deal with policing our own people? Right. And I think when you look at places like Nigeria, when you look at places like Ghana, they got their own set of complex issues you can't look at through the same lens of how we look at things here in America. Right. But it still winds up becoming a power dynamic conversation, and who actually has the power to hold ourselves responsible. Yeah, because corruption is still a real thing, regardless.
That power is modeled after Eurocentric values.
That's what exactly what I was going to say.
Absolutely.
It's like we're talking about conquered countries. These values, like Nigeria, is how old?
In terms of
independence? When did Britain say, okay, you're good? Or Ghana is how old?
Ghana, only 60 years. 60 years is Nigeria.
I know people older than the country.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so
my mother's older than Nigeria.
Those Eurocentric values are what's dictating. I think I'm not saying rape is just comes out. I'm sorry for the trigger word. I'm not saying rape just is like it's an obscure thing, but I do think that is a Eurocentric power kind of is an expression of power.
I know what you're saying.
It's an power that Europeans used against Africans.
Yeah,
and I think it's still permeating in that, you know. And so what I'm saying is, like, those issues, I can't, I'm not going to dig into the history of each independent African country, but I will say there are remnants that make African issues look like American issues because of the European influence.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So in Ghana, we one of our former presidents is named Rawlins, right? And to this specific point, and that's why I'm talking about values, because we have to choose the values that we're actually going to live by. And when you choose values that were taught to you from colonialism, then that's an approach, and that actually dictates the outcomes, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so this former president said it was an interview, and he's like, it's so crazy to me that in these countries we have courts and we make defendants and witnesses and all these people swear on the Bible, right? Mm-hmm. And these are countries that either predominantly are Christian or Muslim, and they swear on this text, right? And he was saying that even just that right there, he's like, do you know how many people feel comfortable lying in court because they're swearing on a doctrine or of a book that they don't even truly believe in? And so his point was like, if you took that same guy that sweared on that Bible and you took him to his hometown and his village, and you made him swear on the thing that's sacred in that village, they would never lie in court.
Absolutely.
They would never lie in court.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? And that's my point. We got to choose. Yeah. We got to choose what our value system is actually going to be.
Yeah. Segregated socialism.
Segregated.
I'm out.
A segregated socialist. I ain't mad at it.
Takes it.
Segregated socialism. I'm not mad at it, man. Yo, I mean, I think the biggest thing that we're doing is, I've always said policing, they're the janitors. They're the janitors of the legal department. You know what I'm saying? Of justice. That's what they are. They're the janitors of justice. There we go. You know what I mean? They clean up the mess. They don't stop it. And I think a lot. Yeah. I think a lot of what you described, Chief, even you, Nana, and Chris, I think a lot of that is talking about, the root, is getting to the root instead of, it's if you want to use the word, it's policing the root instead of policing the person. It's getting down to who they are as a person. And I think when abolitionists, a lot of them are speaking of that. They're saying, yo, I'll let the community handle it. The community, ourselves, we can handle it. We can get our people right.
Yeah. And the community's got that. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I think the world we're trying to make is a community that has faith in each other. That's like one of the principles of governance is how much faith do you have in humanity? That's it. And everything, and depending on how you answer that question, that shows what side of the curve you are. Just to quote Patrice Cullors for those who really want to hear exactly what abolition is. An abolitionist believes in a world where police and prisons are no longer weaponized as a tool for public safety. So one more time.
Say that again.
An abolitionist believes in a world where police and prisons are no longer weaponized as a tool for public safety. So they no longer become weapons of the state. They are looked at as a rehabilitatory part of a rehabilitatory ecosystem for the citizens. It's a complete paradigm shift. And that's why it requires gutting the institution so you can start with a whole new culture within those. But again, it doesn't say where police and prisons are gone. Like that third flyer that we showed earlier on the show that was made by a third party to mock 8 Can't Wait. Right. In truth, an abolitionist just believes that they should not be weapons against us.
I think they're only weaponized because of money. I think
Absolutely.
capitalism weaponizes our ideology. Like once you add money to the equation, once you added money to prison, it became weaponized.
The fact that we have private prisons.
Absolutely.
I mean, wait a second. You can own the prison, and then in that way you basically make the rules. So now prisoners they're not actually there to be reformed. They're actually there as employees.
And Seth, that hit Philly hard. right? Like, you remember that era where they started shutting down a lot of schools in Philly and like consolidating them.
Yep.
And what was happening was these same companies that owned these prisons were actually buying schools and privatizing schools. And it was crazy. There was an era in Philly where like
35 schools got shut down. In 1 year.
It's solid. It was like a merger so they could buy like a grip of schools, right?
Crime went crazy because now you have everybody on top of each other.
Absolute. And these guys, it turns out a lot of the people that owned the jails were some of the same companies that were buying these schools. Yeah. And when you walked in these schools, there were schools that we walked in where they made children. I'm talking about elementary schools. They made children. If you were a child walking in the hallway of these schools, you could only walk down the hallway if you walked in a single file line. Right? These same schools had bars in their windows and metal detectors and single file lines. They were literally creating a pipeline.
It looks like, I remember when the first time I went to, there's a school in Southwest. It's called Bartram.
Yeah,
it literally looks like a prison.
It looks like a prison.
Literally, yeah, absolutely.
It literally looks like a prison built in the middle of the neighborhood. And I was like, but I remember, like, you know, when my friends, you know, when they would get arrested or they would go away for a year or 2 years, and they were like, I would ask them, you know, of course, the first thing you ask them is like, yo, what was the experience like? They're like, yo, I was up there, I was working for $1 a month or some shit, like $1 a week. And then that, I remember the first time that I found out that license plates, furniture, so many things, it blow. I'm like, it's so in front of you. It's almost like they're hiding it in front of your face.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I was horrified because I didn't go to that kind of high school. Like, I was like Fresh Prince, you know what I'm saying? Imagine if Fresh Prince of Bel-Air wasn't in Bel-Air and he was in West Philadelphia, and the actual school that he would be attending, that would be a whole different show. And that's how most people, he was the exception. So when I first saw what my homies was going to school versus what I was going to school for high school, I was like, there's no way. I didn't even have any hope for them, to be honest. I was like, there's no way I can't even help you. This whole shit is fucked for you. This whole shit is a trap. So I think what I'm realizing though, man, is that a portal has opened in this reckoning era. A portal opened for us to sprint towards the largest ideas that we can conceive of. Some idea, I'll be honest, I didn't think some ideas were gonna. And in Minneapolis,
and that's my point about the Overton window. Like we're witnessing it right now. That
we're literally in the middle,
literally shifting
to the opposite side
in real time, right now.
Yeah. So we as a people have to dream as large as we can. To Chris's point earlier about African nations and like the Eurocentric ways in which certain systems have been developed, especially the legal system, judicial system. We have to dream as a people from Atlanta to Accra to different places around the world where Black people are, in Rio, of systems that work for our neighborhoods. And we have to, the tough part is we got to dream fast and execute fast. This shit, to everybody watching, is not going to be forever. You ain't going to be able to get all these discounts and many reparations. You have to move and create an idea right now. Trust your intuition and your knowledge, and then put it out there. That's why I love what everybody's doing, from the reformists all the way to the abolitionists. They put an idea together quick for everybody right now, and they put it out there. But the lesson I'm learning is dream bigger than any of us. To Gori Carago says, a portal has opened for us to sprint towards some of the largest ideas we could ever think of.
Actually, that's great. Brooklyn, can we run that clip? That clip that I sent you, that longer clip.
So I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. What I can say is we've learned from Camden and we've learned from Compton that there are more and less responsible ways and more or less likely ways to be successful at this. So I'll give you an example. If you defund the police department and take away 50% of the personnel, right, which I'm hearing people say, like, just slash it 50% out. There is no union contract in the United States that says anything other than last in or also first out. That means if you're trying to cut it, you're actually getting rid of the youngest officers who are also the most progressive, also the most interested in culture change. That's not the department that protesters are asking for, right? So if you don't end up following a roadmap and looking for ways to cut the right officers and cut the right programs, you're going to end up with tragedy in Black communities. And I can't overstate this point. For generations, we have had politicians say, you know what? Black communities, they can fend for themselves. They need to be taking care of themselves. So those mental health resources that other places have, we're going to privatize them. We're going to take the public ones and throw them away, right? The grocery stores that give you fresh vegetables, take them, throw them out, right? The marriage counseling, the job training, all that stuff, take it, throw it out. And the only public system.
Wow. Oh, that last point. You got one. He got one
I'm
point.
like,
let's
wow.
It in Brooklyn. Let him finish. You got one last point we got to hit.
Wow. I'm all the way in.
Yeah.
I think the clip cut. So what was his last point?
His last point was that what his concern was that we are literally in a moment right now where it is that reckoning. Right? It is that reckoning, and that reckoning has been brewing for what we said last week, 400 years.
Yep.
And he said, his point was, and he said it in his own way, I'll interpret it, but was that if we don't seize this window and think really, really far about what the possibilities are for our people in these times, given that it took 400 years to get to this point, we would be remiss if we thought too small. If we thought too small.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that to me is the power of this moment, is that they want us to actually be very reactionary right now. Right. And you're seeing people that are reacting fast and in real time and then immediately are shifting their stance because they realize that window is opening. We would be remiss if we didn't think long and hard. And people have been doing it. That's the beauty. It's like we're not starting from scratch here. There's a lot of amazing people that have actually they've dedicated their entire lives to this. And so it's really about being in a position where we can make the best decisions of the world that we imagine in a way that will literally shift generations.
Absolutely.
It took generations to get here.
Yeah, I wanna thank Chris Patterson for joining us.
Thanks, bro.
Social segregation
and bringing the naranja color to the screen in honor of his brother,
Chris.
Bro, we're gonna buy some land together. I'll see you down the street.
Oh, let's get it, bro.
Hey,
we already know, bro.
There's a black farmer's market around the corner too. I'll tell you about it. Don't worry.
Let's do it.
Wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. And that speaks to,
man, so much to say. That
speaks to when people are like, what do I do? Don't get caught up just in the legal moment or just the George Floyd case. Or even just people protesting right now. Things will die down to a certain degree. At least the attention, because there always is something else that takes the attention off this moment. What we have to do is lifestyle focus. What Chris was just talking about, half jokingly, because it's going to happen, is investing in land together with Nana and finding some way to build a co-op with a farmer's market. And this is all in Atlanta, Georgia. Me and Nana was on the phone yesterday talking about what land across West Africa, how both buying and how to build an actual ways and roads for people to do business more easy and carry products along. This is what we're supposed to be doing. It's a way longer game. So use this moment to sprint as you do in marathons. In certain moments, you can use a hill to give you the extra momentum. We have a hill with a slope that's allowing us to use that to just jimmy off in the front. But we have to always remember that in the sprinting moment, it's the marathon and winning the marathon that we have in our heads.
And with that being said, I don't ever want to hear anyone out their mouth say we are not our ancestors, because you're right. We are not. We got it. If anything, we got it fucking we don't have the same struggles that they have. But this idea that we are not our ancestors, this shit doesn't happen overnight. We don't get to this point overnight. It takes time. It takes sacrifice. And so this idea, everybody's like, oh, we got to stay focused. people are focusing. People are working. People are going in. You see, we had this last weekend. This was some of the largest crowds of all the. We're talking 50,000, 60,000. You don't think that they shook when they in Philadelphia? It looked like the same. It looked like it went back to what was that thing that they had back in the day? The big concert series.
This nigga just
Live 8.
It looked like Live 8 in Philadelphia. We're talking thousands upon thousands of people. So this idea talking about we not our ancestors. We are empowered by our ancestors.
Yeah,
we are doing this for our ancestors. If you hear anybody say, I'm sorry, this is just me. I cannot let that slide. We will not. We cannot allow anyone to disrespect our warriors. And the fact is that we tore shit up. We didn't go lightly. We tore shit up from the moment we came over here. Absolutely. And we're going to continue tearing shit up.
Absolutely, man. And I'm glad we brought it to that too, because again, we are much larger and powerful than the sum of our parts. Right. And when it comes down to thinking about these things, not just on a there's one conversation to be had about how these things, we need to focus on the micro, because a lot of these conversations are actually about addressing these things on a county level, addressing these things on a municipal level, addressing these things on a state level. Right. We make too much of a parade of the national level when we need the micro. As much as we need the micro, we also need the macro. And macro is not national. Macro is global. And as Black people, if we don't tap into our power globally in these times, it doesn't, even if America winds up being successful in terms of Black people really having a place and having power, that doesn't mean that globally Black people will be accepted. Until all Black nations have figured out their way to be prosperous in the world, we won't have global respect. And so as much as it's important to focus on micro, it's just as important to focus on macro, because the truth is right now, especially even in this conversation, there will be a million different plans about how to go about these things. Right. And they will use this to distract, to divide, to do all that shit. In fact, for every visionary that's born, there's 1,000 divisionaries that are sent to distract and to divide and to conquer. Right. But I'll say this, for every single bridge that is built throughout the diaspora that reconnects back to the continent, a colonizer rolls in his grave and dies another 1,000 deaths. And the more we connect these bridges globally as an economic force, we will be able to be powerful globally.
1,000%.
Absolutely.
1,000%.
Absolutely. Powerful way look, I mean, shit. I think all three. I mean, that's the best way to close the loop on this type of conversation. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about, is it disbanding? Is it dismantling? Is it defunding? Is it being an abolitionist? And I think the things that we're talking about is probably even more radical or more realistic or more real, than a lot of these kind of ideals. Like, the concepts that you brought up, Chief, the concepts that Nana brought up, the concepts that Chris brought up. We got to think, as you've always said, man, we got to think wide. And I appreciate y'all. This is the type of conversation. I mean, I learned so. You got to think wide.
You having a moment, Yui?
Oh, come on, man. You already know. I always have a moment, man. This is a moment. This is a moment. Listen, this is a moment right here.
He had to get the ancestor thing off the chest.
I don't think it was the ancestor thing. We end the moment.
Everybody has a piece. I have moments like that. Last show was 400 years for nothing. He had to get it off.
Yeah,
he had to execute it off. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've done 2 essential episodes for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Depending on if a volcano erupts, like next week, we may do another one. If not, we actually plan on and intend on resuming our regularly scheduled broadcast, which means the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of St. Thomas, which was left out of the Bible and is part of what's called Gnostic or mystic scriptures in early Christianity. We're going to be talking about that, and we have a special guest that we'll announce the day of. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to Lit Review.
Thank y'all.
Absolute. Bless.
Peace. Bless.